things that would never happen to me, all the unfortunate stuff happened to him, like a Benny Hill music video.
What up, everyone? SHAK here for Cageside Seats, and you know who this is. He breaks ankles the way I break under pressure. My fellow Canadian, the walking weapon, Josh Alexander. How's it going?
Good, man. You win my favorite intro so far. That's
Yeah, I gotta get my Sean Evans one on here. You know, I try from time to time to lighten these up. How are you doing?
I'm great, man. I can't really complain. If I did, I think people would take offense to it. I've had quite the year, so things are going good.
Fantastic, and we're gonna get to it. But before we do, speaking of the year you've had and the way you've elevated yourself and your brand, you're the current Impact X Division champion. I would like to think with all that success and notoriety comes a little more money. So have you managed to narrow the gap between you and your wife when it comes to who has the most Jordans?
Oh, no, not even close. I refuse. I refuse to spend that much money on Jordans. Like I'll buy one pair of shoes a year, about maybe two, if I'm really treating myself. But my wife, it's like anniversary gift, birthday gift, Christmas gift, plus if there's a sale. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, at least she's easy to shop for.
Yeah.
She got that going for you. Talking about your wife, if I was to ask her, I know you are ultra competitive inside the ring, but I think it goes beyond that. If I was to ask her, what is the thing you're most competitive about that you probably shouldn't be?
Me? Oh, she would have like 8 answers right away, and I'm at a loss for words right now. Yeah, no, I have no idea, man.
Board games, trivia night, anything like that?
We are very, very much both competitive when board games come out. Like there will be some serious trash talk if we're playing Jenga or anything else. So maybe that one will apply.
Yeah, I told my girlfriend on our first date that I was really good at the game of life, and she said, "Shaq, no one is good at the game of life. It's nonsense." And I creamed her, and she still holds it to me.
Yeah.
What does it feel like to be, I think people obviously, from the moment that Ethan Page headed off to AEW, people are already clamoring for a reunion. But what I love the most about Ethan Page and Josh Alexander is this contrast between personalities. And I think even before I was super familiar with who Josh Alexander was, I was already hearing, for some reason in my head, I already had it associated. Josh Alexander, great matches. And I think that people have really started understanding that. How does it feel after a 16-year career to be getting all this momentum behind you in this sort of guerrilla style, nose to the grindstone, workman, Dean Malenko, Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero kind of way?
I mean, you just summed it up. Like those are heroes of mine, and I've been over the years. It's always been me, like that feeling you had of me, I'm the match guy or whatever it is. That is by design. It's exactly what I enjoy doing. So that's what I've always put emphasis on. And I knew it was a long road to get notoriety because, lightning strikes every once in a while and people can like blow up immediately. But me, it's just been, I think I'm one of the most consistent wrestlers over the past, five years in North America, I would say. And now in Impact Wrestling, if you look at what I was doing, even the singles I had when I was in a tag team division, like Vikingo and Eddie Edwards and TJP, I had all these singles matches in my first year there. And they were all like crazy singles matches that were revered among people, but like nobody took notice. Now that this momentum is growing from all the hard work, like I've been thinking about this a lot lately, especially because clearly the momentum is getting to a point where like, it's unstoppable, which is awesome. But there's a certain amount of pride that goes into it, absolutely. But I'm just shocked that it's even happening still, because you get to a point where you're doing this night in, night out. You don't think it's ever going to happen, and I'm just thankful that it is.
Certainly, and I put out a few graphics online. Anyone have any questions for Josh Alexander? Thank you for sharing that. And the one that got the most upvotes, between 2013 and 2015, you were getting in there. You were with Ring of Honor. You had matches with the Young Bucks, Chris Sabin, Matt Sydal. But during that entire stretch, you were dealing with, sometimes on the down low, a really serious neck injury. If you could go back to that time, is there anything you would have changed about your approach over the course of those 2 years?
I mean, if there was one thing I could take away, I would go back and just not do the one move that I know that hurt my neck. but obviously it was a wear and tear situation. But I've always said this, and like I continue to, especially to this day, like I wouldn't change anything that happened along the way, because that neck injury and me learning from it and coming back and just like me making sure that I was ensuring that I was going to be better than I ever was before the neck injury, and this insane work ethic that I somehow developed while out with a neck injury, that all taught me the lessons that I needed for right now to have this success and be ready for it. So I can't really take it away.
And you're having so many great matches now with a lot of young guys on the Impact roster. TJP comes to mind, obviously the Iron Man match. You got Chris Bay, Trey Miguel. It's a ridiculous roster of young people. What do you think is the most important lesson you learned from your grind on the independent scene that perhaps some of these younger guys may have missed since they're already on such a big stage, or something that maybe you could give to them that they may not have experienced yet?
I reiterate this a lot to a lot of younger wrestlers at Impact and throughout the independents. It took me, it was about the 10 or 11 year mark that I wrestled El Generico. And I remember him telling me, just calm down and wait. And we were in the ring and something happened and he said, wait, wait. And I was just like, what? And I waited. And all of a sudden you hear like the crowd just come up to this insane level that I would have cut them off and they would have never been there because I would have just been going with the motions. I had been told that same thing that El Generico told me 100 times previous to that. But in my 10 years and all the experience I garnered on the indies, in that moment, that's when everything kind of clicked and went together. And like listening to the crowd, that's when you get the ear for everything. And I think it's just reps. Some people can develop it after like 2-3 years, but for a lot of people it's around that 10-year mark where you get that ear for the crowd, and that's really what we're all about, is giving the fans what they want, right? So
That's fascinating. I was going to ask, is it almost like an acquired taste? But I guess it is.
yeah.
We talk a lot about the forbidden door being busted open right now. We're seeing New Japan titles on AEW. We're seeing Kenny Omega on Impact, and again, this circles back to people's appetites to see when Ethan Page and Josh Alexander's paths will cross again. Without making you go too in depth here, if I were to put you in the booking chair, do you have a dream scenario for what happens with Ethan Page and Josh Alexander when they meet up? Is it a reunion? Is it a rivalry? If you could give me like the spark notes.
I think it would begin as a reunion because there's a bunch of dream matches on the table that, I think need to happen for the sake of the wrestling community and what we could do as a tag team. But I think inevitably it ends up in a rivalry because, as you put it, we're two contrasting individuals. And I think when you put those two things together, it creates magic. So I think it's inevitable, but who knows? Never say never, right?
Obviously, every fan has their own dream match, but what is on the top of your list when it comes to dream tag team matches?
FTR. I was an enormous fan of FTR. I think even now, like I still regard them as the greatest tag team on earth. So if we're ever going to call ourselves that, I think we need to go head to head with them and test ourselves.
Love it. I was watching an interview you did. It may have been with Alicia Toot a couple of years ago, and you had mentioned how the walking weapon came together when Ethan Page sent you a shirt design, and you gave a lot of credit to Ethan for helping craft a lot of the creative elements, if not all of the creative elements of your character. What really stuck out to me is not just, when you say that, I would think, yeah, he came up with the walking weapon, he shot you a text. But the fact that he took the time to get a t-shirt design made, I feel like is just going such an extra mile. We know what he's like when he's wrestling. He's a bit of a dirtbag. He's all ego. But I want to give Ethan his flowers a bit. Can you tell me a little bit about Ethan the person?
Ethan is one of the most mature, selfless, funny individuals I've ever met in my life. If he loves you, he loves you, and he would give you the shirt off his back any day of the week. And like he was invaluable to helping me in my career. Like he was the guy that gave me the confidence I always needed. He was the one that was there telling me that I was, even though I wasn't getting the notoriety for like stealing the show and all these independent matches, he was the one telling me that like, even though that wasn't happening, that I do deserve all this praise and I should keep going and I should keep pushing. He was the one that when I wanted to give up, just pushed me to keep going. So I think like all ego is a moniker, but like his confidence and just his ability to instill that in other people is something that I think that is his best trait.
Any fun or favorite stories come to mind? On the road, in a match?
Well, yeah. There,
It's always good when you chuckle first.
well, like the road one, there's a quick road one and a quick in ring one. The road
Sure.
one is we got booked for Ring of Honor, first time ever as a tag team, and we drove. You have to drive through Detroit border, and the border. As Canadian wrestlers, it is what it is. It's an issue already. It was myself, him, and Sleazy Sparks, who was working for Ring of Honor at the time, and we ended up driving. I drove to him, which is an hour from me where I am, and we switched into his car to drive to the border and then on to Chicago. When we switched cars, I forgot my passport. I did not realize this until we were 3 hours away from his house at the border, and I went looking for it, and I just freaked out. I went, "Oh, I forgot my passport. We're screwed. I'm gonna have to take a bus back to there, and I'll meet you there. I'll somehow make this work." But I screwed us. Like everything, and had been lost in the moment. He just looked at me with this extreme confidence. He's like, "If this is meant to be, it's meant to be. What do you have in your wallet?" And I was like, "My birth certificate, my license." He was like, "Give it to me." And I was like, "Okay." And like we already have an issue crossing the border as wrestlers. He just takes my license, my birth certificate, rolls up to the border, rolls down the window, and gives the guy the thing. It's just like, "My friend's an idiot. He forgot his passport, the license, and birth certificate. Does that work?" And the guy was just like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." And like we got through the border. And I was never everything happens for a reason guy until that moment, and that happened. And his like just irrational confidence to do that was like it was, yeah, I'll obviously never forget it. It was insane. And the in-ring one was every time we were in a tag match, I don't care what match or who we were wrestling or whatever, if there was an unfortunate thing that was going to happen, it would always happen to him. So whether it was me taking a DDT and him selling on the mat, and somehow from me taking the DDT falling with my heel smoking him in like the eye and giving him a black eye, or like just like some big guy grabbing him and beeling him across the ring and him landing in the turnbuckles upside down, like things that would never happen to me, all the unfortunate stuff happened to him, like a Benny Hill music video.
I love it. Well, it just adds to the. I feel like it's just deserved considering his character arc versus your character arc. Speaking of accidents and avoiding them, obviously the headgear came out of necessity and remained because it works the gimmick. You also have the mouth guard. Have you ever taken a shot that made you think, "Boy, I'm really glad I had the sucker in right now"?
Oh, I've taken many shots in the mouth that it took me probably 6 or 7 times before I put a mouth guard in. It was about 8 years ago. If anybody ever sees me smile, try to show here. I don't know which one, but there's a discolored tooth. That's because somebody kneed me in the mouth and bent my tooth all the way back, and so like it was like 45-degree angle backwards. So I had to get it bent back and then not touch it for a month until it like re-solidified. But I didn't even get a mouth guard then. It was only maybe 2 years. It was a year or two ago when I was in Impact, and it seemed like every time I'd wrestle, I kept having chips in my tooth from people like kicking me in the face. And then I finally was like, enough. I'm ugly enough. I need a mouth guard. So
I was gonna say the elbows and the flying knees are looking real. As a guy who covers a lot of MMA, it's looking really good these days, but I can't imagine it always feels nice.
Yeah.
As we start to wrap up here, Josh, what was the tipping point? You are super powerful, great shape, but that wasn't always the case. What was the tipping point in your youth that made you say, "Okay, I'm at around 300 pounds right now. It's time to get this off"?
When I was close to 300 pounds, it was when I was in grade 11. I don't know what that is in America, like sophomore.
I'm from Vancouver, Canada, so this works for me.
Junior, whatever. Yeah. I was 17 years old, and I had to go to prom the next year, and I was a very insecure kid that got made fun of every day. So I paid for something called Herbal Magic to learn how to like eat properly, and they gave you vitamins and stuff like that. So I did that, and I dropped down to like 230 to 240 pounds by prom. So that was probably the catalyst.
Amazing.
But then when I started wrestling, that was really the thing that like made me discover the gym and made me discover that it makes me feel good every day.
Yeah. The gym is a wonderful thing. I can't say 300, but the stretch marks on my back to prove it. So it's an amazing thing once you discover that lifestyle. Okay, last thing I have, Josh, before I let you go here. Obviously, there's the walking weapon, Josh Alexander, but way before that was the Iceman, Joshua LeMay. What was your first ever childhood finishing move?
Oh, it was probably just a power bomb because that took myself and my backyard wrestling friend Sadistico, Isaac Faulkner, I'll give him a shout out, a solid 3 months to perfect and be able to do. So I was the only one that could execute it in our backyard federation. So I would say power bomb for sure.
Yeah, that's an impressive feat. Okay, before I let you go, I want to know this time next year, what do you expect from the Walking Weapon? Still Impact champ? Talking about world champ? What do you have on the agenda?
If I'm not X Division champion, I'd be Impact heavyweight champion, world champion, and if I'm not, then I'm letting myself down and hopefully doing a tour of Japan because that's also on the bucket list.
Love it. It's a good time for it, especially as the world starts opening up. Guys, if you enjoyed the video, please hit subscribe, tap the thumbs up button. Most importantly, Josh, thank you so much for your time today. It's been amazing watching the progress, especially, it's 16 years overdue, but especially over the last 6 months or so. So amazing. Keep up the great work, and I'm really excited to talk again.
Well, thanks, Shakiel. Appreciate it.